Now that I made all the curved components, I'm ready to actually start building that back panel frame. I laid a piece of 1/4-inch plywood on top of my bench and scribed the lines for my vertical pieces of the frame. After I scribed all the vertical lines, I clamped the curved top rail in place and then marked and started to scribe fit the joint where the straight rails would meet the curved top. I tried to clamp all the pieces in place as I went so they would stay the exact position where they needed to be installed, and in some instances I had to use a block plane a little bit to fine-tune the joint. Once I had all the pieces of the frame fit exactly the way I wanted to, I took them to my Craig machine and made pocket holes in the back side so that I could assemble the frame. Although I'm working with curved components, the frame still screws together pretty much like any standard frame using pocket screws and glue. After I have the entire frame put together, I put glue on the back of the frame and then stapled a piece of 1/4-inch plywood to the back of the frame. Once I had the piece of 1/4-inch plywood glued and stapled to the back of the frame, I used a router with a flush trim bit to trim the plywood to the exact size as the outside dimensions of the frame. Now comes the fun part, fitting all the panel molding. I started out by using a small piece of the panel molding to scribe the inside lines where the joints would take place. I try to let the pieces go a little bit long and test fit the joints, then cut the pieces to exact length by setting them over the top of the frame and carefully marking where the joint needs to be cut. Cutting curved pieces of panel mold can be a little bit of a challenge, but because my saw has a work light on it, I always know exactly where the blade's going to cut, and by taking my time and easing up on the joint, I can usually get a really good fit. I use a block plane to under bevel my joints. That helps me get an even tighter fit. When I'm ready to install the curved piece of panel mold, I use a clamp to suck it as tight as possible up against the curving rail and then nail it in place with headless pins. Once all the panel molding is fit in the top sections that have the radius, I fell back and completed the molding on the bottom 2 rectangular sections.